Oh. The chair is not here.
Yeah, we don't have a quorum.
No, we have a quorum.
Okay.
Right.
Who do you want?
We have, I mean, Carla's not officially on yet, but we still have a quorum, the three of you.
Yeah.
So I guess Sally,
You wanna open the
you
meeting?
kick it off?
Sure.
Or you just wanna unmute yourself, Sally?
I'd like to call to order the December 10th meeting of the Audit and Compliance Committee, meeting of Metro Plus. I'll start with old business, the adoption of the minutes of September 25th, 2025. Are there any comments on the minutes? If not, can I have a motion for adoption?
Motion.
Second, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to new business, KPMG audit status update. I think we're going into executive session for that. Is that right?
No,
No, not for this presentation, no.
No, not for this presentation. Okay, so Jocelyn, do we have Jocelyn?
Sorry, yes, I'm here, but I'm actually gonna, hi, everyone. I'm actually gonna turn it over to Camille and Eric to present to you guys today. I think we talked about before, I'm gonna be transitioning this role over to Camille, who's on the health system side and is gonna be taking over as lead partner this year, but I'm here for transition, of course. So.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us with you today. So we just wanted to provide the committee with an update of what we are working through with the health plan for the 12/31 financial statement audit. So we looked at the health plan during the 6/30/25 audit of the corporation, and we will leverage the first half of the calendar year's test work where we can for what we did during the corporation and bring that over into the health plan testing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric to walk us through some of our updates for you.
Thanks, Camille. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So here we just have some general updates to any changes from our previously presented audit plan, and as you can see here, really no changes since we met, I think, back in September. If we jump to the next slide, here we kind of have our general audit business process areas and our timing of when we're performing those procedures. And then if we jump to the next slide, here we have just our general status update as of September 30th, and really just focusing on kind of the transactional, transactional activity in the underwriting, the claims, and the investments procedures here. We're working through those for the interim period from July 1st through September 30th right now. But so far, no exceptions have been noted. And then if we jump to the next slide, kind of just get into the formalities of our audit committee deck. I don't know if anybody had any questions on audit status.
No.
no,
Okay. Yep, and then here we just have a few more slides as part of our deck. Here on this slide here, we have the audit and non-audit services provided to the upstream affiliates, and we did get HC chair approval for these previously. And then if we jump to the next slide, I think we just have some more informational, decks, some more informational pages for the committee as well.
Maybe I'll just quickly mention that these rules have changed this year. And so just to make sure everyone's sort of aware why it became a little bit more of a heightened sense of urgency around the public interest entity and approval of services at the health plan specifically. So this current year, all services at the parent or for all upstream entities. So previously it would only be services at the health plan and down below. Now it's for all upstream entities need to be actually approved by the health plan, since the health plan specifically is a public interest entity. So it's a little different than maybe you guys are used to, but wanted to just let everyone know that's why maybe there was a little bit more, you know, analysis and pulling together of services to be approved. We did go through that over the past few weeks to make sure that sort of all the foreseeable services that we were aware of kind of got into that that we just went through. Just want to let everyone know that. Thank you.
Hi, Steve Cushman, I'm a counselor here. I just want to make sure I understand that the board understands. So the question that you're posing, or the issue that's raised is, because you have to look upstream, the question for this board is, the fact that you are the auditor for upstream as well as for here, whether that poses, and the fees that are being paid, whether that poses any conflict or whether that creates any lack of independence in the audit of us?
Correct. So
that's the question, right?
it's not really a question. It's more that is the concern and why we would be communicating that to you. We don't believe
Right.
there's any concern or
Right.
risk. We are sharing those with you to make sure of that, though. Yes, exactly. Yep.
Right. I didn't mean to suggest for the board.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to. I thought there was an actual conflict or that there was a problem. But the reason why we're having this conversation and the reason
Yes.
we're talking about these is because
Yes.
that is the need to prevent that and making sure that we
Exactly.
are comfortable with that.
Thank you, Steve. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
And I did just want to clarify just the statement that was made, the confirmation that this does not pose an issue or impact to KPMG's independence, what was made by our board chair, not the audit and compliance committee chair. I just wanted to clarify that they're not the same individual. So I just wanted to have that for the record.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions, comments? And is Kathy going to be coming in? I'm a little confused, or she?
She's on, but she's.
Oh,
yes,
Kathy, okay, wonderful. So we just started a little bit. We did new business. We had KPMG give an audit status update. And I guess we're on to cybersecurity update. So transfer over to Kathy to.
The meeting,
Yeah, they can drop.
they can leave.
Okay, right. No more questions for KPMG.
Oh, sorry, KPMG. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday season.
Thank you, you guys too.
Bye.
Bye.
Miss Kathy won't be able to speak.
I'm gonna bring her up on here. as well.
Oh.
Okay, so I'll present the cybersecurity report,
Can you hear me?
and I'll follow the same format that I've done so for the last couple of years, so nothing should look unusual to you. Training and awareness program, orchestrated phishing.
Sorry, Rob, hang on 1 second. Kathy, can you
Absolutely.
hear us? Can you hear us? Can you confirm that you can hear?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, sorry about all of that. So we're in business now.
Can I go?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll be presenting the cybersecurity report to you. I'll follow the same format that I've been using for the last couple of years, so nothing should look unusual except for the content. Our training and awareness, orchestrated phishing simulations showed good improvement over the last quarter at around 8.7% versus 10.3%. And our reported phishing, suspicious phishing orchestrated testing did yield a good response. About 371 people did report unusual mail. So that just tells me that we're doing a fair job at building awareness around suspicious activity. Any questions on this? Okay, next slide, please.
I just want to share, I was with Sally on the phone when I got an email that said that I approved a $13 billion salary increase to myself.
Okay, here's that was probably not orchestrated, but did you report that?
No, actually. So add
Is it
me
on your
to
work
the-
email or? Was that on your
So
work
you-
email
so
or your
you-
personal?
No, no, work.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should report
So you approved the increase.
Well, I gave this, anything that needs to be approved for me, Sally has to approve. So I gave the
Okay.
Sally the heads up.
Okay, great.
Click the fish button. Click the fish button.
All right, next slide, please. Our system health remains steady. Our third quarter mail delivery is at about 45%, which is a very stringent. I think we're doing a great job at keeping the bad mail out. Antivirus signatures are steady at 99%, and our patching cadence, we did a little better this past quarter than the quarter before. Our risk management team is really pushing hard to make sure that patching cadence is up to date. So they're doing a really great job. And our incident management SLAs remain in check. So if you remember last quarter, there was one piece that was a little out of check. So as we renew the agreement with our security operations center, we'll take a look at potential penalties for breaking the SLA thresholds. Any questions? All right, next slide, please. Security investigations and behavioral health. Behavioral health statistics are within range or expected range that we've seen in the past. Unreturned equipment, there's a bit uptick on unreturned laptops. So I'm going to investigate that a little bit further and understand what the situation there is. Lost and stolen equipment is fairly minimal. Two laptops that were lost and 3 phones were lost and 1 was stolen. And our HR investigations actually is increasing a little bit. We had 19 investigations total. That's a little bit higher than usual. Hopefully that's just a one-off. But the team's been pretty busy. Any questions? Okay, next slide, please. Our business continuity and disaster recovery. So in 2024, we accomplished a few things. We handed out radios, grab and go bags for emergencies. And we also created an evacuation video for an evacuation drill, point of interest for where people need to assemble and check in. This year we did an active shooter walkthrough. Quite a bit of discovery there. I think that we should be able to be better prepared going forward. We did have 12 takeaways. We do need to test radios, which I think that is going to be forthcoming with certain individuals that they've been distributed to. And additional informational posters will be created and put out. Just a point of interest with Project Edge going live shortly, our business continuity is going to see an uptick in activity and in getting business units and the core team to build new programs and new business continuity structure around that go live. So that's what we'll be focusing in on in the coming months. Any questions? Okay, next slide, please. Application development lifecycle and security is remaining fairly steady. There were 7 new flaws that were identified. 1 was resolved and 12 were mitigated. It's around the 90 percentile mark that we would like to be at. So so it's kind of status quo and it's a good story to tell. Any questions? Okay, the new DFS cybersecurity regulations is now complete. I will be reporting materially compliant across all vectors of the requirement. So the team has been very busy making sure that we're ahead of the curve on this. I will be reporting this as well as to the board meeting tomorrow. Our delegated vendor security posture actually increased by 10 points over the quarter before. We have a fairly strong delegated vendor group of companies. Very few of them showed any downward trend. I think DentaQuest showed a 10-point downward trend, but their range is at 770, which is a very high advanced range. So I'm pleased to see that. Also, in tracking Health Edge remains steady at 780. That's the software that we're going to be going live with. So for the most part, we do have a very strong delegated vendor security posture. Any questions? Okay. And last and very important is our, well, we do our best, right? Our security posture as opposed to others in our space. If you remember back in the first quarter, we took a dip, and that's the yellow line towards the right-hand side of the screen here. We did take a dip, and it was a deliberate dip because we were testing for our eventual segmentation, the network segmentation that we're working on. So it picked up all of our testing. So it's a good thing. At first, I started sweating because I saw our numbers going down. But as I indicated last quarter, I anticipated our numbers to go back up, which they have. They rebounded to 790. It's interesting because Emblem also took a hit and they moved down to 790. We've been neck and neck for quite a while now. That tells me that may be the new reality as the threat landscape continues to evolve. So does the scoring on this model that we look at. So we remain strong. We're very steady, and I like to see that. I don't like peaks and valleys, so we try to avoid that with training and awareness. Any questions?
I guess not that it matters for us so much, but do you have any idea what's going on at Health First? They're down to 650. That seems like
I can get some information on it, but I'd rather not talk about it here.
Yeah,
but Stephen, I could definitely get some context around that.
Do we look into what's happening when we see another plan that's having problems? We look into it to try to make sure that we're not facing the same risk or the same issue that they're facing. It's really the question.
Absolutely. I can pull that together very easily, but it's not something that I would ordinarily report on at this meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I do have to go. I'm dealing with a Project Edge situation right before we go live. So if nobody objects, I'm going to sign off.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you.
And Joe, we're going to move into internal audit now.
Yes. Good afternoon to the committee. I'll be fairly brief here. So right here, we see the current status of the internal audit plan. I will go into a little more in depth in executive session. And as part of this, which we'll also discuss not only what we see here, but how it's going to reflect into the proposed 2026 audit plan, which I'll ask the committee for a vote on. If there's no questions, we'll move forward since we'll go into more detail.
Okay.
And then as far as internal and follow-up, we have 2 items across 2 audits. I'll go into more in-depth in executive session. One of them, the committee is very familiar with, as it is an ongoing outstanding item, which is going to be delayed because of the implementation. And another one we'll discuss, which is follow-up to one of the audits we've previously discussed. And that's it for me.
Okay. So should we go into executive session now or do it at the end of the meeting?
So we actually have a presentation for this session, and then we'll.
Okay, and then hit that. All right.
If you can go to the next slide. So the next few slides just work through the update on our 2025 work plan. You will see that we are on track if you just moved down for all items except one. And one is an outstanding finding from a CHIP audit, and that particular issue will not be fully remediated until Project Edge for CHIP has been kicked off. So it will be an outstanding item, but you can look at otherwise our work plan is on track for the year. So you can scroll through those slides, Angela. And these slides are broken down by the various areas within the CNR division. Should have got me tea too. is next slide. And so then we just wanted to give the committee some highlights on activities that take place in the corporate compliance area. This includes our mandatory exclusion screening protocol. This is done across our entire provider network, as well as our vendors and employees in partnership with our HR, non-provider contracting, provider maintenance, and credentialing colleagues. And so we are able to report that we concluded all of our exclusion screening activities, and any identified individuals who were excluded, all proper action was taken to terminate them either from our network or, you know, any other role that they occupied for Q1, Q2, and Q3 this year. We're also providing an overview of our corporate compliance case investigations. In total, we received 69 reports. 15 of those were triaged, which means they came to compliance, but they actually mostly belong to the member services team. We also often find that our hotline ends up taking calls or submissions for someone who wants a new ID card or wants to change their PCP. We think that this is very much how a search engine issue. When you look for phone numbers for Metro Plus, we can see this happen. So we did open 54 of those items for actual review in the compliance process, and we were also closed a total of 21 investigations this quarter. So you can go to the next slide. In our privacy space, you can see we gave some year-over-year activity. Privacy investigations almost never yield triage. They are almost actually always privacy related. In Q3, we opened 27 investigations. We closed, Q3 was very active in closing out cases for us. We closed a total of 92 open investigations, 71 of which were from 2025. We are, obviously pleased to report that there were no reportable breaches at all during these periods. So if you go to the next slide. In terms of our regulatory operations, we are reporting on our mandatory policy and procedure annual reviews. We have 289 policies and procedures that are currently in the midst of their review process. We initiated that annual review for 52 additional PNPs in Q3. And in Q3, we were able to finalize and publish out of those reviews an additional 36 policies and procedures. And then obviously you can see the breakdown across the organization of where the policies and procedures that are in review and handling sit.
How does that integrate with Compass? Lila reported this morning that she had someone going through the policies and procedures. Is that part of it?
Yeah, so Pamela Binns, who's our VP of compliance and oversees the operations that handle policies and procedures, has been deeply embedded with Compass in this process. She provided them the documentation, reviews, frameworks of how we, so she's supporting Compass and the activities that Lila laid out. That's how we make sure that it meets all the regulatory requirements that were brought up in the earlier committee. Yeah, my team's very involved in that. Next slide, please. So these are just some of the numbers for our operational surveys. Angela, is it possible to make that just a teeny bit bigger for me? I can walk up front if it isn't. So we're just giving you 2025 quarter information. So you can see for Q3 25, we received a total of 97 surveys across the New York State of Health, OMH, DFS, DOH, et cetera. That brings our total surveys year to date to, which is through Q3, again, not inclusive of Q4 yet. As of Q3, we received a total of 200 surveys. One of the things is that we've been trying to sort of distinguish for the committee between surveys and audits. And so I think sometimes our audit numbers look smaller as a result because we, audits are distinct, but the work and the activity that goes into a survey is equally involved. So, we don't put OMIG audits in surveys, for example. But we can, if the committee would prefer to see information about audits and surveys in a more global number, we can also do that. But these are.
I'm just looking at the number.
Yeah.
So in 2025, you're saying you had 200 surveys?
200.
Or are these, like you said, are they inquiries or actual formal surveys conducted by, because even when you add OMEG and MLTC and CHIP and mainstream, it's still hard to get to 200.
And well, it's actually 250 when you include the audits, because we had about 50 audits.
Really,
quite is not. So yeah, what we find is we have a combination. So you can see it, surveys are being classified as data and information requests. So we are seeing quite a dramatic uptick in that, where I actually have, people that are almost entirely devoted to managing our regulatory submissions, because they happen on a practically daily basis at this point. We're being asked to provide data, provide more data again. We're looking into this, give us this kind of reporting. Here's a new methodology. We get, DFS inquiries, 308 letters. It's quite a large breadth of activity. And then we have our formal audits and surveys, which is when, in a formal way, they're coming, opening and closing, making specific findings, corrective actions. But these can often lead to those, depending on how the overall survey process goes.
Is there some reason you have so much more in Q3?
I wish that I could give you an explanation as to our regulators' activities, but it is, yes, we never really have advance notice that these things are coming. I want to be clear, for most surveys, they are not limited to Metro Plus. I mean, some might be Metro Plus specific, but most are sent to across the plans. Depending on the product line that's involved and et cetera, and whether or not a plan is in that product.
Yeah, when I shared the number with a colleague CEO of another plan, we were still low compared to them.
Yeah.
So
1,000, it's of that nature. Yeah.
Wow.
But yes, but we're globally seeing these numbers increase: surveys, audits, RFI, all of it. A couple of years ago, we might have been, maybe we would have cracked double digits, and now cracking triple digits by the end of the year is minimally to be expected. And again, this is only through Q3, so we've received quite a few more in the intervening time period. Next slide.
So of these surveys, how many of them would you say you have completed responding to them?
I would have to check through our active, but anything that has already had a due date, Metro Plus has met it. Our teams really do come through. We often have to ask for a week or two extension here and there, but we meet our deliverables by the due date.
So if you submit and they ask for additional information, that's included in that number?
Yes. Oh, no, are you asking if it brings the number up? No, we are not currently reporting on the subsequent inquiries on the same initial as additional numbers, no. Yeah, it seems yeah. And okay, we'll go on to, this is our implementation. So as a reminder, implementations are how we classify when all new regulatory guidance or requirements are delivered to plans to be enacted in our operations. So as of Q3, we had 77 regulatory implementations in process. 25 of them were opened in Q3. We also closed 26 that we had already been working on in Q3. And so you can see that there have been a total of 111 implementations opened in calendar year 2025 through Q3. And we classify our implementations within Mentor Plus by levels. So a level 1 implementation, if you want to just inch the slide up a little bit, Ange. Yeah, so you can see what it looks like. So level 1, of which there were 11, that essentially means it is a specific prescribed action that is usually limited to one business unit or area, which the compliance department oversees directly. Level 2 implementations, of which you can see there were 53. That tends to be when there are numerous prescribed activities that spread across the organization and require significant involvement from multiple parties. And level 3s are also like that, of which there were 13 level 3s, except some of the activities are not prescribed by the regulators, and we have to make strategic decisions about how to implement them, where to do it, and of that nature. And those are actually managed. Level 2s are managed by our product SWAT team, and level 3s are managed by our enterprise project management team. And so that's how we classify and manage those activities. And then you can see the implementations by line of business. As you can see, Medicaid far outpaces any of the others in terms of regulatory activity.
You want to talk here, Lauren, about expanding what SWAT is going to be doing because of this unbelievable burden?
Yeah, so we implemented a SWAT team this year. They pick up the level 1 and 2 implementations and work across the divisions. They work in the capacity of subject matter experts to pick up the implementations and work them across the system, trying to give bandwidth space to the business units as you know these implementations are every day, all the time, and we need our folks doing other activities. We are going to be growing the SWAT team next year, and they are going to have more of a role in some of the surveys that we are receiving, giving them more subject matter buy-in to some of the claims activities where reprocessing may need to happen as a result of the surveys. So really building a unit that is standalone, that works with compliance, that has a key stakeholder from all of the divisions across town that can support their leadership without having them asked to do and then some.
We just need to untangle, right? We have so much to do for the business and the health and implementation, et cetera. We have to untangle it, all of these requests coming in, and then not just producing, but then fixing and plans of correction and follow-ups. Just that can consume the company. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to create as much capacity through the SWAT team so that the regular teams can continue to progress with Health Edge and the business.
Yeah, so we chose the most impacted areas, both in implementation and audits, to have dedicated SMEs from those areas sit on the SWAT to perform these functions. And now there'll be an implementation SWAT and an audit and survey SWAT. Because as we said, the production for the audits and surveys is also sometimes a full-time gig for people in these business units. Okay. And then I won't take the time to walk the committee through all these, but these are some of the bigger regulatory changes that are impacting Medicare over the time. Some that we've already taken action on, some that have future impact dates. A number of these items, they are listed here as, Medicare final rules, but we are also finding that a number of these rules are trickling out or contain components that are also impactful to Medicaid and CHIP. And so we are seeing that things that we've done maybe only in Medicare or only took Medicare action, we are now finding that we have to take that identical action in Medicaid and the CHIP lines of business. So we are constantly engaging with our state partners to try and get the guidance on how the state wants these implementations to look and what those timelines are going to look like. And these are also activities, regulatory highlights that were happening at the state level. I will just say right now we are in the midst of what is a pretty standard process wherein bills that were passed in the legislative session are now being called up by the governor for review. So we always have maybe the last 2 weeks of December where we're waiting to find out if these bills will be signed by the governor and put into place. And so some of the items that are outstanding and may impact the plan are only now being signed by the governor, approved by the governor, even if they have January 1, 26 effective dates. So our teams are monitoring those and we'll keep the committee updated. But we also do want to say that despite what we and the committee is very aware is happening in the healthcare landscape, the New York State Legislature continues to pass legislation that expands mandatory benefit coverage. I think we're at least half a dozen bills that we're waiting for the governor's review around coverage mandates. And some of them she's signing, at least one she's vetoed, but we are not seeing a reduction in that trend despite sort of the tightening of the bank accounts in the healthcare space. And these are just the same, regulatory impacts for our commercial and then EP and QHP lines. Okay. And then I think we're ready for, yes.
Okay. Anyone who doesn't need to be in the room?
Oh, Anthony, you're here for that.
That's
you, good sir. I don't think so. I don't think we need to.
Move to go into executive.
Yes.
Just tell me if not.
No.
Discuss matters that could lead to litigation enforcement.
So I think you just need to make a motion, Sally. Make a motion for executive session.
Making sure everybody's left.
Do you need to say what?
You make a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters that could lead to litigation or enforcement actions. And
Okay, I'd like to move to go into executive session, or accept a motion to go into executive session for matters related to litigation or enforcement actions. Second, everyone in favor, yes?
Yes.
Okay, we're now in executive session.
Okay, so the deeper, now that we're in executive session, we'll go into what you guys are used to seeing, and this will obviously be for you, but what you're used to seeing out of the compliance reporting, and then also in internal audit, just for the committee's general awareness, which we laid out for Kathy in the briefing, because Rob Masillo's report doesn't contain anything in it that would need to go into executive session in a standard fashion. His full presentation will always be in the public session. Joe and I and our colleagues will have the limited public session reporting, and then we'll have fuller reporting here on the specific details of audits, reviews, and enforcements. And so that's why executive session will be at the end, so we can get through all that public stuff first for our committees. So this is what I did report on, but you can see already, I'll start with the CHIP corrective action is the only one that is in red, and it will stay that way until wave 3, I believe, when CHIP goes live in Health Edge. Yes, because this is particularly a system issue that cannot be resolved in Power Step.
I see. What are the issues? Or I guess we can go to page 84.
Yes, exactly. This is why we generously provide the page number or slide numbers, because obviously it is quite voluminous, what we're required to report for compliance. But yes, we've had the same finding 3 years in a row. The CHIP audit is done every year. And we did report in our plan of correction framework that this would be part of a new system rollout, but it could not be effectuated. And I think so the regulators are aware of our timeline here. Next slide. So these are our notifications of non-compliance that we received from our reviewers. We did want to provide the committee with 2 updates as it relates to our EP and QHP provider directory and access and availability surveys for 2024. The state did a follow-up to the letter of concern that they had issued to us back earlier in the year. And we are, and they basically came and said that they thought that we'd only resolved a very, very small percentage. Only, as you can see, only 41% in EP and around 30% in QHP. But when we looked into the matter, despite the actual timing of this review and when we submitted our plan of correction, wherein our plan of correction fixed all of these issues in October of 2025, the state used our July PNDS data to conduct their follow-up review. So some of the issues might still be withstanding, but we will be pushing back on these findings simply because we using July, we didn't even get a chance to remediate at that point. So we will be pushing back on both of those in terms of the follow-up. Next slide. This is an update, just as per usual on our OMIG external audits. I know it's obviously very tiny, but as we noted for the committee last time, the final column all the way to the right ultimately will indicate what the final determination is, and we will indicate to you there whether or not we were successfully able to reduce the overall liability on each particular audit based on our team activities to push back and dispute findings. Even when it's small, you can see that in almost all instances, we are able to identify that there were errors in the OMIG's initial determinations. Next slide, please.
It's maybe a silly question when it says overpayment. Who's overpaying who?
Oh, you just wandered into a very, very thorny question. So the way that the framework actually works is it can either be that Metro Plus received capitation payments for individuals who should not have been enrolled in our plan for that time period. Either they were enrolled in another place, they were in prison, they were dead and we didn't know about it. So that's one type of overpayment.
From the state to you.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Then the OMIG has also taken, which to Steve's point about litigation and other activities, there's a lot of pushback coming from the plans and our trade associations, wherein the OMIG is essentially saying you paid for something you shouldn't have paid. We are going to take back the value of what you paid from you. So now you've paid it out and we're going to take that value back from you. We is the Office of the Medicaid Inspector General. Yes.
Yep.
One of the issues that we essentially run into is that the Office of the Medicaid Inspector General funds themselves, and they fund themselves with these overpayment recoveries.
Wow.
Yes. And so there is quite a bit of, as I said, they have also now for the first time started trying to impose interest on plans for how long we had the money in certain environments, in certain situations. And so it becomes very, very complicated.
Is that still ongoing with
It
OMIG?
is.
Yeah, indeed it is. So we had the administrative hearing.
Yeah.
We had our post-hearing briefing, and then we had our reply to the other side's briefs. That last round was filed last Friday. So it is now fully briefed before the ALJ. We'll see. I'm never very optimistic, truthfully, about winning at the ALJ level. And the standard rule of thumb is that an ALJ will go against the agency on an issue of fact. And they say, well, if they're having a factual hearing, I think the facts are different, but they will very, very rarely overrule the agency's position on matter of And they'll say, that's really not I'm a fact finder more than a legal insider in a sense, and they'll
That
ship it
usually
off.
go with the agency's interpretation
Yes.
of them.
Absolutely. So that said, so I don't know how often I am at the ALJ level. That said, we put on a very good record to go into court on, at the best record we can, really, for the underlying legal issue. And the state's attorney did not take it particularly seriously about creating a record, assuming they would win no matter what.
And remind me, Stephen, was it just Metro Plus, or were there other plans involved in it?
Health First, VNS, and I think it's Medina. I forgot. I think for the third plan, those are in state court already. They bypassed the administrative hearing, so they didn't put on a factual record at all, which actually hurt them the way the ALJ wrote the decision. But we'll see. They are in court. The state filed a motion to dismiss. They briefed that. The judge on oral argument made it pretty clear they weren't going to grant the motion to dismiss. They will jump to the ruling on the merits, I suspect, and they have not completed their briefing on the merits yet. So their briefing on the merits and that decision will probably come a little bit after we get our ALJ decision, but before we're in state court, we'll have their initial state court decision.
Is that gonna hurt us if they have an adverse decision then?
So it really depends on what the basis of it is. If the basis turns on facts that we put into the record that they did not bother, they chose not to put in the record, then it might help us in that sense. If it's ruled on as a matter of law, kind of unrelated to any of the underlying facts, just as a legal authority of it, then he would hurt us for sure. That they are starting, because they didn't do the administrative hearing, they started at the trial court level, Supreme Court level, instead of going up to the appellate division. Trial court level doesn't have any precedential value against other people, and it will get appealed. And so if it is likely for that not to be the final standpoint. It's likely it's going to get appealed, whoever loses. So it's going to get up to the appellate division where we will go because we had an administrative hearing. So at the end of the day, we are going to get to the same place. It will just be it'll just be a few months before we get there.
Interesting.
And as I said before, I mean, whenever those of you who work for the state are aware of this, whenever you're challenging a state agency decision, it's an uphill battle. Your odds generally are, less than 50-50 whenever you're challenging state actions.
That's why most don't. Most of the time you just go with it. But
no, that's right. And we've had other situations where the state has dinged us for, $275,000 that we think is just wrong. And we go, not worth it. And it's also your regulator, right? So you're suing your regulator in a sense. In this instance, I think it's less of an impact that you're suing your regulator because it's really OMIG,
right?
And the rest of DOH, doesn't have, from what I gather, the fondest of feelings or the belief that OMIG is necessarily institutionally representing DOH in the best possible way on some of these issues.
Okay. Okay, we can go on to the next slide then. Okay. This is a specific information about an OMIG audit that we received as it relates to our restricted recipient program. This is for January 1st of 2019 through December 31st of 2023. The long and short of it is that this was a $25 million audit. This is what the OMIG claimed that we owed, and we are actively disputing $20 million of that $25 million across all of the components that are laid out here. We essentially, disagree with them that we made inappropriate payments in these situations. Yeah. So I mean, there were obviously a handful where we did not, errors happen, but $20 million, it sort of goes to show that we are dealing with kind of an absolutist body right now that is taking sort of a global stance. And even when the data and the reality isn't matching up, the onus is put on us to demonstrate and prove that. So, and this is actually after we already worked with them to reduce the overpayment by $9 million. It started out at 34 million. So we already had a $9 million reduction, and now we're disputing another 20 million. I agree.
Is that the most expensive audit we've had?
No,
Unfortunately not.
no, the one Steve was just talking about.
Because even on that one, the capitated payments themselves were 57 million.
Right. And you guys you pay that.
Yeah, well, they took it, but yes.
Well, yeah.
But yes, we would do, right. 44 million of it, but we're challenging 13 million of it in the hearing, because 13 million, we couldn't find any records of it. And their contractor sent them an email saying, we're not able to recreate the records to verify this. And so, which
really,
and the lawyer didn't bother to really defend or explain that. It doesn't, which there is an explanation. You could say, look, you've got this, we have the original report, you get links to this. You could have presented a record about how you got there. But they have this email saying, well, we can't recreate it. And the state doesn't actually seem to care. So but that was 57 million plus another 14 million in interest on top of it. And the 44 million in encounter claims that they usually take somewhere between 2 to 4 years to pay, we are still waiting for.
Right, because we are entitled under the Medicaid contract to get the money back for all the claims that we paid when we were responsible for those individuals. So that's 44 of the million. But yeah, so the 72 million with interest is the most we've had. This one was only worth 34 originally. So, but you
I will say, it's not quite as inequitable as what happened to Health First. Health First, they took, and I'm not sure the exact numbers, but it was something like they took back 130 million in capitated payments. Health First is owed 132 million in encounter claims, which they were waiting for. And they took, in exchange for owing them the 2 million, they took like 32 million in interest.
Wow.
Which Health First thought seemed
egregious,
arbitrary and capricious. So that's the issue. That's like, and so you asked, are we helped or hurt by having the people go first? We're hurt in the sense that they didn't create the fact pattern we did on what plans do in response to all this information and the actions they take. We are helped because their fact pattern on the claims and the encounter data is so egregious that imposing interest in that fact pattern really does seem, not rational.
So they're taking back the money on the claims, but you guys are waiting for the actual payments to the providers that you made during those periods?
That's right.
And there's no reconciliation of that?
Well, there's a reconciliation, like DOH has already told us, yes, we've looked at it and you're owed 44 million.
Okay.
But we don't get paid.
But the OMIG doesn't take that into account when they're recovering or applying
what I'm
interest.
saying.
They absolutely disregard it. They say that's between you and DOH,
Right.
and this is us. So we're entitled to interest, even though you are entitled to that money, and we're going to charge you interest on money that you are in fact entitled to get.
Can you charge the state interest?
You knew the answer to that, Valencia.
Wow.
No, but we did ask that direct question at the hearing.
So-
But go ahead.
Oh,
I'm
sorry. Again, maybe silly question. Do you have to budget for this every year? I mean, like, how on God's name do you balance your books when you have these kinds of things coming at you and you don't know the numbers?
So yes and no. So yes, there are some OMIG audits that occur on a regular rolling basis, and we have always accounted for those in our financial planning and projection.
They normally take from you.
Correct. And so, for example, a death audit, right? There's simply no way for a plan to know in 99 of circumstances that a person has passed away, right? We don't have access to death records, et cetera. So we know every month, every quarter, we're going to receive an OMIG recovery for those kinds of enrollments. We plan for those, incarceration, et cetera. Obviously, 2025 is the first time we're seeing interest, so we were not able to plan for that. But the reviews of this magnitude that come out of nowhere, we're not able to pre-plan. So it is a mixed bag. The ones we know, even though we don't know the value, Lily and the finance team books it based on, reviews and extrapolation and planning. They have a whole methodology that they utilize.
I see. I mean, do you ever have to take a loan to pay this kind of thing? Like,
No,
you're okay, you have enough money to.
It's an accounting exercise.
Okay.
It goes under liabilities.
Complicated one. I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
We book it as a liability.
I see. I see.
And carry it
Yep.
forward.
Right.
Yeah, I will note one other fact just because I pass on the full story to you. When you get these started as payment integrity reviews and then switch into audits, but when you get them at the initial point, OMIG directs you not to pay back the payments. Because it says if you pay back the capitated payments before it's concluded, you will forfeit your right to the claims payments. So if you want your 44 million, don't pay it back. And so after directing us not to pay it back, then years go by and then they charge interest for the entire time period.
Oh my God.
And so
That's
it
insane.
is, so you can't stop the interest.
It's like a loan shark. I mean, it seems.
It is.
Right.
No one's ever used that term before,
Sorry.
and that is so perfect. Yes.
Well, I mean, this is why plans usually do not sue the state,
Mhm.
but in this case, we're in court. We're in court because it's just
Egregious.
so egregious.
Mhm.
Wow, interesting.
Okay, next slide. So this is a program integrity audit. So the term program integrity audit is used in a variety of contexts. This context is when they come in to specifically evaluate our compliance program and all the various program integrity sections of the model contract. So we were audited for 2023. They essentially, we received a score of 88%. And the way OMIG's recovery, when it comes to a program integrity audit of this type works, is in their findings, they are authorized under the rules to take up to 2% of the capitation we have received on this line of business. So the entirety of what they've paid us for Medicaid, they can take up to 2% of that back. They created essentially a tiering system. And so if you fall below a certain score, they'll take the full 2%. If you're in another range, they'll take 1.5%. Another range, they'll take 1%. So a score of 88% put us in the 1.5% range. And so they are asking for $1.2 million back. We are disputing this. As you can see, there was only one scenario that we did not dispute. We had already aware and we had put in corrective actions relating to the fact that there's a 60-day timeline to let the OMIG know that you have potentially identified FWA in your compliance and SIU activities. We weren't meeting that 60 days. It was taking us a little bit longer to get our reviews in. That is factually true, so we did not dispute, but everything else we are actively disputing, and we have proof. We did exclude those providers on time. We did take this action. We received a notification telling us that this was the due date, so we worked to that due date. Also, all of these items we are disputing. We believe that minimally the proof that we did the exclusion screening activity on time will put us above 90%, which moves us into the 1% recovery range. And then we believe we'd be, even higher, much closer to compliance once they look at the, the guidance that changed the due dates on us. So it's a lot, y'all. They're very, very active, and it's a lot.
It's just pretty straightforward though. Either if you could show the date you excluded them, I don't understand how OMIG is saying, that you did. Like,
Yeah, well, so one of the things that we have identified is that one of the issues that we have is that, we have a global provider network.
Yeah.
And so you can be excluded from Medicaid, you can be excluded from Medicare, you can be precluded from Medicare. There's all of these limiting activities. And so what happened was, and these providers, they had been excluded by Medicare months before they were excluded by Medicaid. So we had removed them previously. So we had, when the report got generated out of the system, the date wasn't aligning to the Medicaid exclusion. And so we had to, go back and demonstrate, no, it's because we termed them
because
earlier.
they were off earlier.
Right. And so we had to go back and, it's also a thing for us. We have to make sure that we're looking for that and flagging for that in future program integrity audits that come every year. And we will have to be aware to make sure that we're pointing that out to them now. But it was done, and it was because, we had already done the activity. Yeah. Well, but it's more, again, how our reporting came out. We don't expect them to get it anymore. We just don't. So we have to be more diligent to make sure.
That's like, okay. I'm just saying that's not that hard to understand, right?
I know.
But okay. But I thought, isn't everybody working off these integrated reports that come from the federal government now that has all the Medicare, Medicaid? Everybody that's excluded is on these reports, right?
We have a vendor because there are 9 different places that you have to check.
So
Some of
they
them
haven't integrated it
they
all
have
into
not.
one report.
Some of them are places you can only check if you pay for it. Some of them you can go to a random database, but those databases require one-off inputs. So we actually pay a vendor to run these checks for us across the board. They have made a huge difference for us. But it means, again, we have to be very particular about how the reports run out. Because if our system, if we have a hold code in the system that says you're excluded from Medicaid, but we never put that hold code in when your Medicaid exclusion came in because we'd already excluded you because CMS excluded you. And if you only run a report for when did we exclude you from Medicaid, there's no date there, right? It's this kind of activity that we have to manage across the board, and some of this we think will get smoothed out once all our enrollment activities are in Health Edge. Either way, we proceed nowadays as though we expect the OMIG to get it wrong and be unreasonable, and we have to put extra effort into making sure they understand what should otherwise be straightforward and clear.
This may be for another time, but I'm so curious at some point to hear about planning for work requirements that are coming and because in my organization, we're talking about this and talking to states, it's a nightmare, but
so
on
we're
the PD level, I'm wondering how you guys are thinking.
Well,
about
so
that.
one of the things is actually
Very timely.
Yes. So essentially what initially happened when the work requirement framework came out is that the federal government expressly said that the state could not pass on their work responsibilities to plans. They could not make managed care organizations do that work for them. You couldn't parse it out to somebody else. 2 days ago, CMS issued an opinion that maybe they could for some of it, but no details yet. So in terms of the plan, we're basically running on tenterhooks since July. We don't know what they're doing. They change their mind. They issue, it's all over the place.
Okay.
So we have been excluded from that planning to date. If CMS, gives that express authority, we know the state is interested in pursuing it, making it our responsibility and not theirs. That will be, I need to lay down.
Yeah.
But yes, I think you said, God help us, right? That was Talia's response when I notified her. So, but it changes constantly.
And it's every 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a big deal.
when you think about how difficult it is for research, sometimes it's just like,
Right, exactly.
Well, the community service, right? It doesn't have to be work, it can be community service.
Right.
Yes, and some are excluded, and how you're. I'm curious how that's all gonna look, what that's gonna look like. Yeah.
She can help you figure that out when
Please.
you're ready.
I just did a little,
Colors.
I have a thing on work requirements, just at a high level, everyone's who's, like sort of a key takeaways,
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you can share with us is always great. We're very much, obviously, this will be a game changer, and the state plays their intentions very, very close to the vest.
Right.
So.
I don't think they know how to do it.
No, they don't exactly. And the federal government initially said that they would be willing to grant a number of extensions as it related to these things, and then they also made that very clear that they're like, oh, we're not going to give you a 2-year extension. I don't care. The law says you could have that. You can have 3 months. You can have 6 months. They're being very tight. So
Right.
yeah, New York has no clue what to do. Nobody does. None of the states do. How could you? The only 2 states that have it, it's failed miserably and nothing has been accomplished. And so,
Okay, are we-
any other, I know we're definitely running out of time because there's so much to talk about.
Thank you.
So if we can go, next slide. These are, again, just more external reviews, external audits, et cetera. Everything's being submitted timely or we're still engaged. You can go to the next slide, Angela. We've talked about the Article 44. Our plan of correction was approved on November 5th, and it is underway with DentaQuest. Our only finding was related to DentaQuest. Next slide. So this is the survey that doesn't end. And so I have nothing to share with you other than this is the survey that does not end. It is, I was wrong, 8 months. I thought it was May, but it's been underway for 8 months and shows no sign of slowing down. In the last 3 days, we have gotten 14 additional requests. So all of this is now even outdated in terms of that. So we keep going. These are our business process monitoring slides. I won't walk you through every one. The long and short of it is, we are doing excellent internally. MLTC had a little bit of a hiccup in Q1, but in Q2, you can see we're back to it. This is not Medicare, this is internal. Go down to the next slide. This is internal with Medicare. We are also, while not perfect, in quite good shape internally. Next slide. This is our delegated vendor. Again, everything excluding Medicare. DentaQuest is our problem, will always be our problem at this moment. All of our other vendors are doing excellent, but we are seeing very incremental improvement from DentaQuest with all of the hand holding that our teams do, but they are holding their hands every day to even get to that 5% increase.
And we don't have an option, an alternative.
Not at the moment, no.
Not really.
Mm-mm.
I mean, if we're willing to pay 3 times more,
Yeah.
and more than we get reimbursed,
Yeah.
and even then, I'm not sure it's gonna be significantly better.
Right. Same thing here for Medicare. In general, though, you will see that everybody does better in Medicare. It tends to be because Medicare is so prescribed and also national. You don't have to make all the special nuances for New York, of which there are bajillions. And that's a clinical term. Next slide, please. Same thing. This is, as you can see where we're at. Just want to flag, Integra was a small sample. They had 1 case that failed. And so it drops their percentage significantly, but it's only 1 case. We've never seen it before. They explained the issue. We don't believe we'll see it again. It was not a policy or process problem. It was an individual error. So we think they'll be back up to 100% next quarter. Moving on. I'm not going to do any of the next 3 slides in terms of content, except to say to the committee that in January, we will be going to New York State to request that the now nearly 6-year-old plan of correction that requires us to do those constant BH claim reviews be ended. We've had it in-house for 4 years now. The errors were our prior vendors, and we believe that we would be better served as an organization, and the whole program would be better served if we would start taking all the energy that's put into this and putting it to other places that we could potentially improve effectiveness and efficiency. Next slide.
Do we subcontract behavioral health or that, or?
We did up until 2021. And so and it's literally a cap from what our vendor messed up, and they transitioned it to us when we brought BH in-house. And it lives on forever.
I'm so sorry.
It's a 2019 audit finding, and so, and it's been 2.5 straight years of meeting the thresholds in every review that we do. So it's really just not the appropriate use of integrity resources. This is a longstanding cap. We are currently at 75%. The remaining 10% is SS&C implementation, which we are actively working with them on to get them to do. We'll have a better update for the committee next meeting. Next slide. I'm not going to walk you guys through this. It's pretty standard stuff, corrective actions related to findings that we make in our audits. Next slide. We do a lot of Medicare work. That's what I'm going to tell you. We do a lot of Medicare work. The one thing I will flag is we are in our 1/3 financial audit. It commenced in September, but this audit intentionally, based on how they structure it, usually goes for about 6 or 7 months. They will review initially and come back again. So if you go on to the next slide, it sort of has more details, but the long and short of it is, per law, CMS has to audit the entirety of their Medicare Advantage organization network over the course of 3 years. So they call it the 1/3 because they do 1/3 of their plans every year. And so that's how it gets its name. And so we are in the midst of that, and we'll obviously report to the committee on the progress and how it goes. This is for 2024.
I'm sorry, what is for the total line of business? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's across the board for calendar year 2024.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, everything, yeah. As it relates to financials, it's not a program audit, but the impacts on financials. And now I'm going to turn it over to Anthony, who is the director of our SIU.
Thank you. Okay, so here's an update that we've been working on to improve member engagement and with our capitated providers and our member engagement with our capitated providers. The goal of this was to identify providers who are seeing a low percentage of their assigned members and help boost engagement. We've been monitoring this on a quarterly basis so we can stay on top of the trends and adjust as needed. If you look at the chart here, you have the IPA affiliation, the panel size, the percentage of their members seen, and the last column is the percentage increase. Couple of highlights here. We do see an increase from 3 of these providers. Broadway International Internal Medicine went from 30 to 42. It's a 12% jump. Then we saw for our SOP went from 10% to 47%. There's been a decision internally that we're converting contracts for contracts with fewer than 500 members on a panel to fee for service.
You're doing that with an IPA? These providers are in the IPA, right? How are you doing fee for service? And how many people? I was surprised when I was looking at the provider director audit that was sent out, and I was struck by the transition back to fee for service, but I'm not sure how, if you have a capitated IPA contract, how are you excluding those particular providers and doing fee for service?
Stepped out, so I don't know how they're doing it.
And I'm not. The IPA itself is still getting it.
I know, but so are you going to contract with them separately, or?
So I think I don't want to speak for Anthony, obviously, but Anthony, the data that's on the left half of the slide is what the SIU is doing in their mandatory underutilization activities. The updates that Anthony is mentioning is a global approach that they're taking out of P&O and provider contracting to this issue. So right now, I am not aware that we are converting members of Somos IPA, but individual providers that are capitated who have 500 members.
We put an amendment into their new VBP into 2026. So there is
on the VBP, yeah.
So there is a reduction to their fees, the IPA's fees, if we continue to see low
the providers. So the providers are identified and removed from the capitation to the
Their total
value
capitation
base?
will go down.
No.
Yeah,
So we pay them, what is it?
So it's like, you get like a, yeah, like the IPA would get $1 or $2 PM for each. And if they don't have the utilization through their members. Now, if the members of the IPA are not, the providers who are in the IPA are not seeing
Low
members at a certain percentage, then that $2 drops to a $1 PMPM, or $1 drops to 50 cents. So the IPA loses the money.
So we penalize the entire IPA, so they will manage their providers.
It's not really fee, it doesn't sound like it's really fee for service.
No,
That is almost.
No, that's what I'm saying. That bullet is about individual providers, not about the IPAs.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's two separate.
Right.
Anthony was just giving a global update to what the corporation is doing to address underutilization globally. He's not saying they're doing that for these 9 that are on the screen. That's what I was trying to differentiate.
Yeah, so we have done this already. We have already converted individuals from capitation into fee for service. And for SOMOs, we send them in.
Is that a trend that's happening, going back to fee? Because I thought we were trying to get away from fee for service.
I mean, but if you have a small patient
right.
panel,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. And what we've seen, those are historical contracts. I believe we signed them, but you have a provider with 20 Metro Plus members and they have a capitation. How does it make sense? So we took kind of a pretty unilateral approach that anybody who has less than, what was the number, 200?
I think it was 50. We had one level at 50 and one at 100.
Okay, so anybody who has a panel that's less than 100 and is currently capitated, we discontinue the capitation. Does it make sense? It does not make sense. For everybody else, if you have a more substantive panel size, we then look to see, okay, you have a more substantive panel size, you're getting money from us, whether you're doing the work or not. And if you're not, we put them on a notice.
To move to
And
fee
if
for
they don't
service.
change after the notice, we're gonna convert them.
And what I'm going to, so the providers that get moved fee for service, now they're going to be without that capitation payment, which brings them back into my bucket where I'm going to be monitoring those providers to see if there's any change in their billing activities. So it never ends. So they come off this list, they come on another list of mine for monitoring purposes. So in Q2, so we have approximately 129 active cases. We opened 10 cases in Q3 and we closed 17 cases. This is a breakdown of all the claims data that was reviewed in this quarter. So our vendor, they identify leads and they provide us with all the data that they monitored, and we capture that and report it here. It's a very boring slide, but it's very informational. It gives us
so I know we're very, very tight on time. So I just want to point out that we continue to see a dramatic uptick in the number of complaints and especially independent dispute resolution cases. So we have had over 1,000 independent dispute resolution cases. It's only going to increase and continues to get more. I mean, we had, in a single day, we received 70 from one entity for 2023 on one day. And so, and when we have 3 to 5 days to respond to that. So these are becoming very overwhelming. It is a significant part of our industry advocacy plan for the budget session in 26. Including the fact that right now there's not even any kind of filing limitation in terms of time. So someone could go all the way back to when the independent dispute resolution rules came into effect and file a claim now for getting
When
paid.
was it? When did it
Why?
go?
2016.
That can't be. Wait a minute, say that again. You
They,
can't go back to 2016.
yes, you can. They will accept
The
it.
question is whether the DFS will allow them to take it and process it.
So
I-
far, DFS
I-
has been siding with providers.
Yep.
I agree that they shouldn't be letting them go back to 2016, that while there's no specific time frame in the IDR statute, in the Nuts Project statute for the state, they should still be applying some version of the general limitations periods to these claims. We haven't seen that yet.
Right.
But in truth, I haven't seen an IDR currently going back to
Going back that
2015
far.
either.
Yeah.
But I mean, we did get the 2022. I'm starting to get nervous, right? Because what's happening nationwide, it's happening in New York, everywhere else, is the service firms are figuring out how to monetize this and to process them as groups. And so they go and they say, well, just give me your claims for the last 5 years. Give me your claims for the last 3 years. Right? You don't have to do anything. Just give them to me. I'll send you a check. And so they're taking it and they're processing the stuff. And that's what's happening. That's why we get 70 from 2023 in one drop on one day.
Because I was surprised, because at one time, there was hardly anything coming through on them.
It's been the
And
last
so
2.5 years.
They figured out
How to,
a business.
yeah.
Right. It's a cottage
And that
industry
makes
now.
sense.
They're
I could
churning them
see
out.
that. I could see that.
Right.
It's probably contingency based, right?
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
The more I get for you from the plan, the more I get, so they're
Yeah.
very motivated.
It's
Wow.
free. I mean, it is from the provider's standpoint, it's basically free money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All you gotta do is send me the records and hang. At some point, you will get a check.
A big one.
A big one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes a lot, okay, that explains that.
I won't walk you through the regulatory highlights. So there's a billion slides. You can just go by and internal audit.
Me. Good afternoon again, everyone in the committee. I don't know if Kathy is muted, I think. I don't know if she.
Who's making a lot of background noise? She can
Oh,
hear.
okay. She can hear. Okay, cool. Okay, so just briefly, the agenda, we're gonna look at the current and the future proposed audit plan, discuss a little bit about what audits I've been involved in, and then just quick updates on corrective action plans, SMAR, and for everyone in the committee's review at their convenience, our risk assessment, which is fairly voluminous because we have a very engaged chief group of chiefs happy to provide me with their concerns. So reviewing here briefly, model audit rule, which is an annual event, obviously completed for the year. Nursing home finance provider directory, where audit started late in 2024 that bled well into 2025. The provider payment records audit we'll discuss briefly in the near future, and I'm recommending that we discontinue that audit. We have member applications currently in progress. Next slide, please. So we have 3 audits here that are not started. They will look highly familiar for the most part in my proposed 2026 plan. One of the audits here, review ID card generation. After having some discussions with Raven and really taking a step back, one of the challenges in my 30+ years of audit is I've never been in any organization where the base core system was in flux. I've either came in right afterwards and had a great time auditing to see if it worked. I had a great time auditing before it was implemented to give them a bunch of recommendations to include. I've never been in the middle of the quicksand. So this is really kind of something where you will see in my proposed audit plan, we're really kind of just going to try to move aside. It's not for IT being more than willing to. It's definitely not because Talia isn't more than willing to put the hammer down on my behalf. The challenge just basically is that they've got a lot going on, and what they don't have going on is the things they can't anticipate because they don't know what's not going to go on that they need to immediately fix. So I'm doing my best to really kind of give them as much as possible space during 2026 and audit other important areas of the company that I believe we need to review that are going to minimally impact their areas. So that is the current 2025 plan status. Next slide, please. So this leads us to 2026. Again, model audit rule will always be standard member applications, which is currently in play right now, obviously look to complete. End-stage renal disease, direct provider payments, vendor management, themes from the previous year that we weren't able to get to have minimal IT impact, look to obviously address those areas. They were also re-brought up by the chiefs to say, hey, we want to consider these. And then provider directory, which everyone on the committee, I hope, has a copy of the report. I believe Angela did distribute that. We want to take another look at it. It'll be a little more focused, but because of the outcomes of that audit, we feel that doing a follow-up to see whether or not their plans of implementation are going to be effective enough to help us get to better numbers to see across the board. So with that said, if anyone,
with all the other work that's being done, you want to see if it impacts the,
so we had, as part of the audit report, we had recommendations and they have made responses, say, well, we want to do this, that. So I'm going to be monitoring those CAPs that they're completed. But then we also want to say, okay, did these recommendations have the desired effect? For me in particular, one of the areas I was most concerned with is the amount of time it was taking us to get a Salesforce ticket complete. And there was quite a spread of time there. So I want to see whether or not things they implement help us speed up those provider corrections, making it to the directory in time.
And I saw that section, I was a little confused. Is it that you were getting calls and once something is referred to Salesforce to handle, they were taking the 6 months to finalize it on the provider side?
So that 6 months was the whole time frame on average. You know, obviously some things were quick, some things are taking significantly longer, but I tried to break it out into basic time frames of from the point where a provider made a call to the point someone, got that call. It's like, how long did it take for someone to say, I've acknowledged you, provider, you've given me an issue. And then from there, from the point of someone has taken action to the point where it was actually distributed out, because someone would set up the ticket and then it would take a period of time before that ticket was acted upon. And then for the period of time of acting upon to the period of time where we saw it actually completed in our system. So those first two sections, which were internal, took a significant amount of time, and we're looking to bring that time frame much tighter to get those corrections in the provider directory faster.
There are multiple inefficiencies in the process.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes, Kathy, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know why this has been such a problem, but anyway, yeah, I had kind of the same thought as you did in terms of timeframes to complete. You're never going to get improved accuracy if you can't address those timeframes in terms of making the changes.
We agree. I mean, and Joe's audit uncovered some inefficiencies. So for example, there's one person who is the traffic controller. That person has been here since the company opened its doors. She knows everything about it. And so that's how it is. When you have one person who is the only traffic controller, you have issues, obviously. The whole process is sequential. The entire process is manual. So there are some parts that take time. We have a vendor called Better Doctor. They reach out. The reason we have the backlog is because we put a vendor to reach out to providers to verify their information, right? Because otherwise we can't be calling the tens of thousands of doctors every day. So we have a vendor to do that. The problem is once the vendor reaches out and they have an update, there are lots of updates now coming our way because things are changing all the time, right? It's a dynamic network. So there's that part of them bringing the information, and then the information going into the traffic controller, who looks both at the updates from Better Doctor as well as credentialing new providers, as well as recredentialing providers. It all funnels into the same lane. And then from there, we have operational inefficiencies. But having one person who is the traffic controller is a huge problem that Joe identified. And then the information that comes from Better Doctor is keyed in. Literally, I mean, I'm doing the finger by finger keying in. That's what's happening. And all of this being addressed from not having one person through, who funnels everything, to not having manual updates, instead taking the file from Better Doctor and using AI to upload it instead of doing finger by finger. It's a little embarrassing, frankly, that this is the process that we have in 2025. So it was identified, it's being addressed. There are some enhancements that we need from IT. Most importantly, IT is, we're almost done actually with applying AI to the file that comes from Better Doctor. So it's just uploaded. And then they hit the timelines around Health Edge and it was paused. So now that Health Edge will go live next week, IT will come back and complete the AI application. So the whole process, the process itself, the technical piece will be automated, and then the operational piece will be addressed. So we'll have redundancy and not rely on one person. But you are right. When Joe told me, it was shocking, but that's what we found.
That's also why you see AI specifically called out, because we're using AI both in this resolution and on the actual provider directory that people can access. So we flag that as a place to look to make sure that the AI is yielding the result that we want it to.
Thank you for that. So
Kathy has some question.
Oh, yes. Okay. Kathy, did you have another question?
No. Do I have to take my hand down or something?
We can do that for you.
We'll just change it to a high five. So with that said, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to field them. If not, I would ask the committee to approve the 2026 audit plan.
So we cannot approve, we cannot do formal approvals.
In executive
session. If you want to approve something, we need to come out of executive session, then you can do a 30-second presentation,
show the slides. Yeah.
To take us out of executive session.
Motion.
Everyone in favor. We're not out of executive session.
We're now out of executive session.
I'll go up one slide into it. Right here.
So I'm presenting to the audit committee at this time my proposed 2026 draft audit plan. I would ask that the audit committee, I would request approval from the committee for the plan to move forward.
Motion for adoption of the 2026 draft audit plan.
Motion.
Second, everyone in favor say yes.
Yes.
It is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Then can we put it back?
do you have anything left?
Are we able to?
I'm sorry, what?
Should we need to go through another? Is it actually critical?
Nothing's
We're already
critical.
over time.
Yeah, nothing's critical.
So if it's okay with the committee, if there's no questions on the other stuff, then we rest.
Motion to rest and adjourn. Yes, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.